Hello, welcome to my channel where we talk about regulation, how to stay regulated in a world that's determined to keep us dysregulated. And we're going to be talking about how to keep ourselves regulated and our students. And today we're going to talk about color as a regulating resource. And I know that sounds a little bit unusual, but color can have a remarkable effect on how we're feeling and how others respond to us as well. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to be painting my table. My table was blue. It was in the other room and it looked nice in that room, but it's kind of a gray blue. And I'd like it to be more of a teal. So I'm going to be painting it this color. This was my sample color. And I don't know if I can paint and talk at the same time. I've never tried it. So let's see what happens. So on the weekends, I enjoy doing color consulting. And I do personal palettes for people. I got trained in 2016, well before it was a trend on TikTok and Instagram and everywhere. Well before it had all the controversy around, should you get your color palette done? Should you limit yourself to what colors you wear and all that kind of thing? I've enjoyed doing it for almost 10 years. And the responses I get from people are pretty amazing. They feel so much better once they understand their palette and their coloring and their contrast levels and what looks good on them. Well, how does that affect us at school? What does that have to do with when we're teaching students or the students in our classroom and the environment they're in? I've been in a lot of classrooms for the last 25 years. And when I walk into a classroom and I see inviting colors on the wall, not necessarily primary colors. They can be a little overwhelming in a small space. But colors like soft blues and teals and just softer colors that have a little bit of gray in them, so it tones them down a bit, they seem to be the most harmonious colors, the colors that most people like, feel okay in. So environmentally, the colors that surround us really affect our mood and affect how regulated we feel. Why do you think spas always use like a soft green or a soft blue? Because those colors are shown to be very calming. So when we take a primary classroom and we do red on one wall and green on another and bright yellow on another, it can be a little dysregulating. Now, if you're in a classroom like that, don't worry about it. I'm just wanting you to know that it can impact. But if you can't change the colors, then bring in some greenery, bring in some artificial plants that are green and represent nature. All right, so environmentally, we talked about colors. Another reason why I love doing color palettes and wanting people to have their color palettes, because have you ever gotten up in the morning and you're kind of like, oh my God, I didn't sleep the night before. I was up with sick kids. And you're thinking, oh, I have to go to work and I'm too tired. And you just grab the black. You know, you go in your closet and you say, I don't want to think about what to wear. I'm just going to grab this black top because it's your default. Well, I'm going to tell you that if you're feeling really crummy, you're even a little bit sick, you got to go to work anyway. If you grab the color that really highlighted your natural features and your natural coloring, and a color that you looked really beautiful in and you felt beautiful in, people at school are going to notice. Even your students are going to notice. And you're going to get lovely compliments throughout the day. And those compliments are going to be ventral information coming to your nervous system. By ventral, I mean information that helps your nervous system stay regulated. If your closet is all set up with your harmonious palette, which is mine is, whatever you reach for in your closet will look good. And everything goes together. That's what I love about my closet. I have my key colors that I know look good, and that's what I buy. How I got started was I went to get my colors done from a Kaggle color consultant, and that's the system I'm trained in is Kaggle. And I went to her because whenever I do trainings, I always get stressed out. I didn't know what to wear. Or if I do a big keynote with hundreds of people, I was like, I don't know what to wear. I don't know what looks good. So when I went to her, she got my palette designed. Felt so good to know what my colors were and what colors brought out my eyes, what colors I could wear where people would trust me more if I was in those colors. So it was really worth the investment for me, and it's made my life so much easier. Whenever I do trainings, I go for periwinkle, I go for blues. Lavender's kind of a key color for me. So those colors look really good on me, and people usually compliment me at every workshop with whatever I'm wearing. I'd like that to be how it is for you at school. If you're wearing those colors that make you feel good and make you look good, people respond to you differently than if you aren't. Now, here's another key tip. If you're working with a student who's really volatile, initially, like I've gotten a lot of emails from some of you already. School's just started and you're already writing me about your volatile students. Limit the use of red, because red is a power color in our culture, and not in all cultures, but in our culture, it's a power color. And red can be dysregulating for some students. So if you're working with a student who's really volatile, for the first week, wear your eye color. Your eye color is a color that says, trust me. That helps children trust you. And that's a really important part of our polyvagal world, right? Is trust, safety, connection. Another tip is if your principal's coming in to observe you, on those days, wear your eye color or wear a color that you feel really good in, because your eye color is that believable, authentic color that works for everyone. Everyone can wear their eye color. So for me, painting is a visual experience. It makes me feel, I don't know, I just love it when I have a ruler or a paintbrush in my hand. I love painting furniture. Of course, if it's a lovely antique piece, I'm not going to necessarily paint it, but most of my pieces I pick up at used furniture stores. And usually they're a little bit beat up and they're wood, not manufactured wood. You can't hardly paint manufactured wood. You need real wood. So I go to stores and thrift stores and I get real wood pieces and I paint them just because I like painting. So we've talked about the environment and the colors in your room. We've talked about wearing your authentic colors, wearing them when you're working with a volatile kid, wearing them when you have an observation coming up. And what about back to school night? Yes, same thing. Your parents will trust you and relate to you more if you wear colors that are authentically in your palette. Same thing goes if you're doing a parent conference. Parent conferences are a great opportunity to wear those colors that are authentically in your palette. I know some people want to feel like they're going to wear red. So if they've got a difficult parent, they're going to wear red to show a sign of power. But actually, if you want to have a parent relate to you, the best colors that you can wear are like we talked about already: eye, hair, skin tones. So look around in your staff room. Look at the colors that are there. Can you bring in an artificial plant or a real plant if somebody wants to take care of it? But it's important that we have the colors in nature. Even if you brought in a bouquet of flowers for your staff room, that just says, hey, I care about you. We're in this together. We're going to work together. We're going to help solve all the problems of the world together. The thing to remember here is that we have resources around us, and we have to explicitly know what those resources are. So in the Resilient Learner Backpack book, I think of it as a backpack that we carry with us all throughout the day. And in that backpack are those things that help us stay regulated. and we know what those things are. For me, if I'm upset or if I'm contemplative, I'm trying to solve something, I generally go get a paintbrush and I paint something. It's just what I love to do. I love seeing the impact color has on any room. It's a simple, relatively inexpensive thing that you can do to change your environment. And if you don't like it, I mean, this table's been painted probably 12 different colors in the course of its lifetime. If you don't like it, you just repaint it. It's not a huge deal. I hope after watching this video, you'll think of color as one more resource that you have in your backpack. And that color is whether we wear that color, or have that color around us in our home and at our school, even in a car. So it's really important to notice what colors energize you, what colors calm you, what colors just sort of, yeah. All right, now we're got to get the legs going here. Another use of color that I want to talk to you about that I use with my reading students is using color for learning. There's a lot of science. In fact, I quote a lot of the science in my book, The Resilient Learner's Backpack, when I talk about color and the role of color in learning. We will learn something easier if one has pictures along with the text, and also if the pictures are in color. So if you can, like if you're showing something on a smartboard or with your document camera, try to make the images be in color. If you're doing flashcards, or in school moves world, we don't just do flashcards, but we bounce them. And if you don't know what that is, you can watch the video that I've created. And we move with our flashcards. So we don't just flash them up and say them, we actually do movement with them. When I'm using flashcards, I'm using colored markers on colored paper. Now, some students will respond to some colors better than others, so you have to experiment with it a little. But generally, if a student doesn't have a lot of trauma in their life, and they're generally regulated and integrated, you can use red marker with yellow index cards. And the bigger the words, the more impactful it is on the brain. So yellow and red in nature is usually a sign of danger. And so it just kind of alerts the brain and makes it a little more awake for the information coming in. So give that a try. If that seems to be too intense for some of your students, you can do light blue cards with black would be okay. Or you might do purple with yellow. You can experiment and see what works best. Some school-based classrooms have a push place where they have their handprints on the wall and students push out their words. So they do some heavy work to help with focus and regulation. And put the words up on colored paper. I would begin with yellow with red and see how that works for your group. But if it's a really high-strung, dysregulated group, you might use softer colors. Not quite. You might use yellow with, like I said, with purple or blue marker. Okay, or even possibly black. Now, about this time, people start asking me about colored overlays. Like, what do I feel about that? Well, you know what? For some students, the color overlays really help them. And the reason is that black and white print has high contrast. And some people see the white pattern and the path between the words more than the words. My son was one of those. My son has a reading disability, and that's one of his big issues, is that the contrast is too high. So he did get some colored glasses, and it did help him a lot. So that it just depends on what the challenge is. So what I do, just have them available, have some color overlays, and even they have these rulers that have little color inserts, blue, yellow, red, and they can just lay it on their book and they can see if it helps. And I know there's some people who are watching this who will say, oh, they need to get tested and you need to know exactly what the color is. That's the ideal world, but not everybody's gonna be able to get to the testing. And so I just had things available in my classroom, and I told them, if you want to use this, go ahead. If it helps you, go for it. I didn't get too technical about it. All right, I think I'm going to end the video here, finish up this table because I have to get underneath it and do all the parts underneath it. But I'll come back and I'll record when it's just and show you some pictures when it's all done. Remember, keep one foot in ventral. That's a Deb Dana quote that I love. And what that means is that even if we're starting to become dysregulated, find your ventral resources. Know what helps you return back to regulation. And just saying, wow, I'm starting to get dysregulated is a really great way to bring awareness to your nervous system that you are starting to get dysregulated. And that's your cue to start looking around and saying, what can I do? Who can I be with who helps regulate me? What things help regulate me? And go find them before you go off the deep end. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. And everybody says this in every one of their videos, but it really does help if you subscribe. 90% of you who watch my videos are not subscribed. That's a lot. And also, if you liked the video, that tells me that this type of content you're enjoying, and I will make more of. Leave the comments. Nobody ever does. We just have a group that's too busy, I think, to comment. You just click on, watch, and go. But if you have some comments or questions, please put them in the comments and I'll respond. Have a great day.